Hey everybody, welcome back. Give me a second to drop this log off and we'll get into today's video.
And if you thought today's review was an engine because of 503, I did too. But we've got a gun review today from FNH USA or FN Herstal. Say hello to the Micro Compact 503. In full transparency, this FN 503 came from Brownells with no strings attached. As we start off all of our reviews, we go over our basic specifications. The width on our 503 is 1.1 inches. Our height is 4.6 with the pinky extension or 5.3 with the extended magazine. Our length is 5.9 inches. Our weight is 21 ounces with the standard 6-round magazine empty or 22 with the extended magazine. Magazines are single stack, and as mentioned, a 6 and 8 round extended are included. Our barrel is 3.1 inches and 1 in 10 twist. Our street price, depending on vendor, was right around $550. Starting from the front, we have a dovetail painted white sight meant to be snag free. The front and rear dovetail are the same cut as the FN 509 series. Our entire slide is very smooth all around with a raised rib up top. We have a loaded chamber indicator port for visual confirmation, as well as the extractor pushes out a little bit on the side with a loaded round, so you have a feel point as well. We have rear slide serrations, and our rear sights are a 2-dot white painted. Moving down the gun, we have a very large slide lock, slide release takedown lever. Our magazine release is shrouded and can be swapped from left to right. There is an additional little magazine release in the pouch of the carry case. Our grip texture is nothing less than from my cold dead hands robust. We have the skateboard stippled texture on the sides and a very aggressive tiled texture on the front and back. FN never disappoints on overdoing the amount of texture you have on a gun. If you have paper pushing soft hands, you're probably going to want to wear a set of gloves if you shoot this thing for an extended period of time. Our 503 is striker fired, and like the Sig M17 and the Ruger 5.7 is actually an internal chassis gun. That means that in this case, there is an aluminum chassis inside of this grip module that houses all of the fire control components and is actually the serialized part of the gun. So if you wanted, or an aftermarket manufacturer wanted, they could produce a different grip module for our 503 here, and it is not a registered part. While the FN has no front accessory rail, I believe Laser Max produces a grip module with a built-in flashlight. The 503 sports an all-metal trigger with a dingus safety. There are no other manual safeties on the 503. Both of the magazines that we got with our 503 test model did drop free from the gun, whether the slide is forward and lock back. They seem to come out of there pretty good. FN does a really good job at making sure their magazines drop free. The trigger on our 503 broke right around 5 pounds on our alignment gauge. It has a decent amount of creep, not only while firing, but in the reset. There's quite a bit of space between reset and the trigger being all the way forward, but at least it did provide us with a tactile and audible reset. Now we'll talk about the takedown. In this case, for our 503, you'll need some kind of instrument, probably a flat blade screwdriver to accomplish this. I made a Beretta M9A3 review a little while ago, and I kind of poked fun at Beretta for saying that they had a toolless takedown, but here we are in 2020, and I highly recommend using a tool to take down this EDC gun. Essentially, what you have to do is you pull the slide back here, and there's a little cutout that you line up with the slide lock takedown lever, and then you can use the screwdriver to pry it up. A little like a 1911, but there are no bushings to worry about. You just have to line that part of the takedown lever up and it will pop out. You pull it out, point in a safe direction, pull your trigger, and you can slide your slide off. You can see the internal chassis of this 503, kind of dirty. I probably should clean it. Very simple in here. I don't see a whole lot of moving parts, which is usually a good thing. On our slide here, we have our dual captive recoil spring with our yellow paint on here. We have our 3.1-inch barrel with a very nicely polished feed ramp and chamber. The 503 is rated for +P, but as most pistol manuals state, plus P plus is definitely a no-no. And I did detect some slightly enlarged cases when I accidentally fired around 25 rounds of 9B PLE through the 503 while testing. To reassemble our 503, just follow the reverse order. Take your barrel in there, shove that guy all the way to the rear, put your spring in there with the small end to the back. Make sure you're in the shelf. You'll take your slide and slide it onto our slide rails. Make the slide about flush with the rear of the pistol. Take your takedown lever. It's got a little cut out so that you can pass it by the little spring that holds it in the gun. And you kind of push it in there so that it goes flush. You pull the slide back a little bit, and what you want to do is line up that little cut in the slide with the protrusion in our slide stop. And there you go, we are reassembled. Because 2020 was really tough on the ammunition supply chain, we only put around 400 rounds through our 503. It was a combination of full metal jackets, frangibles, and some JHPs. We only had one stoppage really early on with the frangible load where the bullet kind of nosedived into the magazine so then it wouldn't feed forward. Not sure how that happened, but after dumping that top round out of the magazine, we were good to go. The FN503 fits really well into the micro-compact category, along with the Glock 43, our Sig Sauer P938, as well as the P365, and of course our Springfield HellCat. I have not reviewed the Glock 43 or the Sig Sauer P365, but both of those are on my short list to review this year. One thing I like about the 503 is the very ample grip texture and the filling pistol grip. It is thinner this way because it's single stack, but it's wider this way. So even with my medium-sized hand, it fills my hand very well. And using the 8-round extension, I can have a full 5 fingers on the gun. The slide stop and release was easy to manipulate with the right thumb or left trigger finger. The dovetail sights being cross-compatible with the 509 make upgrading these to taller sights or night sights a breeze. Now on to some items that I personally did not care for on the 503. My number one thing was the takedown method. Granted, there aren't any barrel bushings and you just need a simple flat blade screwdriver or a pocket knife to pop that out of there. I felt that FN probably could have enlarged the hole on the opposite side of that takedown lever and maybe made the stud flush with the receiver or frame so you could have more easily pushed it from the other side with a blunt object. I felt the mag release could protrude a little further, allowing for a little more leverage to release without changing our grip. People with longer fingers shouldn't have an issue. The trigger was right in my personal preferred weight, but being a southpaw, the trigger would actually pinch my finger on reset because of how the trigger is placed inside the frame. It's slightly offset to the right more, so there's a gap in the frame and trigger area. Finally, FN has a history of cycling through their pistol models quickly, which may leave you limited for aftermarket support or any part availability if there is an issue. My daily carry is an FNS 9C, and while that was only introduced I think about 10 years ago, they've already moved on from that model series and are now into the 509. Overall, the FN 503 has placed itself very well in the micro-compact arena. If you're an FN fan or if you're on the prowl for a very small EDC gun that has more grip volume for larger hands, the 503 is definitely up your alley. Me personally, I preferred the HellCat better, but my wife actually did like the 503 when she shot it. As I close out all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible. Number 1 is my Patreon supporters. Number 2 is Brownells. And of course, number 3 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.